Welcome. You're watching World Without Rule of Law. The following is a short excerpt of the latest story that I have in development exclusively for my Patreon page. It is a story of a veteran who returns home disabled and runs for and wins the Senate seat in his native state of Alaska. Unlike many of his mainstream colleagues, Carson Lee believes that his service in the Senate is a defined time in which he is set to accomplish certain goals, not a career opportunity that would last a lifetime and make him wealthy in the process, much as our forefathers had designed it to be. The story starts off as Carson, 11-year veteran senator from Alaska, announces that he will not be seeking another term when his current one expires. Carson set out to and devoted his entire career to improving the quality and efficiency of the Veterans Administration's medical system after experiencing firsthand its shortfalls when he was injured in combat. Now, disheartened with the bureaucracy and inefficiency of the political machine, he sets out to further his mission in the private sector. However, he will find that walking away will not be that easy. The powers in place in and behind the government have other ideas. They have long-term plans for the veteran senator, plans that differ from his own. I invite you all to join me on my Patreon page for this series, which is now in production and is set to start sometime in the near future. You will also find many other writing projects which are narrated into an audio format. Patreon pledges begin at just $1 a month, and there are only 2 other tiers beyond that at $3 and $5 a month commitment respectively. I hope to see you there, and I hope you enjoy my work. Thank you for your support there and here on YouTube as well. Carson Lee waved to the cheering crowd one last time before stepping away from the podium. As he walked off stage, he turned and threw both hands up straight into the air, displaying the peace sign and screaming to the crowd, "We are America!" That catchphrase had been his slogan during his time in office. His second term as a junior Republican senator from the state of Alaska was 10 months short of its completion. He walked down the steps leading away from the platform and past the crowd of staffers and reporters gathered backstage. The reporters fired questions at him as he walked past them hurriedly. The assembly of staffers either smiled, nodded their approval, or just cheered as the senator continued along toward the waiting GMC Yukon. The driver was standing outside with the rear door open. As Carson entered the rear of the Yukon, the driver closed the door after him and took his seat behind the wheel. The senator lowered the privacy glass, which separated the front from the back seats. "Hey, Paul, can you take me home?" The driver nodded and smiled. "Yes, sir, Senator, home it is." He put the Yukon into drive and sped away, headed for the mountains of southeastern Alaska. The driver glanced into the rearview mirror to see the senator just looking out his side window as they ascended further up toward the mountains. "Sir, it seems as though everything went well today, if you don't mind me saying so." Carson looked up at his driver and friend. "Yes, it went pretty well, Paul. Thanks. Oh, and I got your card. Tell Katie I said thanks." He smiled, and Paul nodded back at him. Carson Lee had just announced to the nation that he would not be seeking another term in the Senate, that when his current term ended, he would be leaving office, and Paul realized that he, too, would be out of a job come November. Paul served in Afghanistan with Carson, and when he decided to run for the Senate, there was nobody he trusted more than Paul Connor. The two had discussed things before Carson announced he would be running for his first term 11 years ago. Paul had no political experience and little knowledge and even less political ambition of his own. However, Carson knew the importance of having someone he trusted beside him in the world of national politics, a world that he himself knew little about at the time. Paul had been with the campaign from day one, and after Carson won the election, he was given a position as an aide and put in charge of the senator's personal security detail. Now, with 2 weeks left to the holiday break, Carson was planning to do some steelhead fishing and think about what might lie ahead for him after next November. He just wanted to take some time to decompress before returning to Washington to finish the work he needed to complete before his term ended. As the two sat quietly during the long ride, contemplating their futures and meandering up the curving mountain roads, the silence came to an abrupt end. A black Sikorsky X-76D chopper with the U.S. Senate insignia flew by overhead. Carson looked up to see Paul looking at him in the mirror. "It can't be," Carson commented. "Can it?" "I think it is, sir. What else would McAdams be doing way out here?" Joel McAdams was the current president pro temp of the Senate and the Republican leadership. Carson sighed. "I just announced not 2 hours ago. I figured I'd receive a phone call at some point, but this is insane." "Well, we know he was touring military bases during break," Paul said. "He's running on a platform of increasing military spending, and with Eielson slated for possible closure, he was planning to visit to reassure the command there that he was doing everything he could to keep it open. The bases are a big employer out here, and he's after their votes. I think he was at Elmendorf today, from Eielson yesterday. It's only about 45 minutes by chopper. Maybe he figured he'd just drop in to talk in person," Paul commented. He couldn't help but smile, no matter how hard he tried not to. Carson just shook his head. "Seems like you're enjoying this," he quipped. Paul, still smiling, said, "Maybe a little. Sorry, boss." Carson looked back out the window. "No matter. We knew it was coming. May as well get it over with. So much for fishing."